Hi everyone, I'm Marc Bates and this is Rabbit Room Apologetics. And today the video is a little bit different because what we're doing today is we're going to be replying to a comment on a previous video. Now I love getting comments and replies. It helps me know what you're thinking, what you want from me. And most of the comments, though, quite honestly, tend to be very short. Hey, thank you very much, or I didn't think about this. Then there's a whole bunch of what I'll call trolls commenting and who say, oh, you're wrong, and don't provide anything beyond that. So I can't do much with those. But in this particular case, a listener or viewer, right, whatever you want to call it, and I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce this one properly, Suzette McLaughlin, right? So Suzette, if I mispronounced your last name, I apologize. But Suzette left a comment and I thought it was really great, and I wanted to reply to it to give you some more information. So this was on the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar, reveals the Messiah's exact arrival window video. And what Suzette said is, how could he be born on Yom Teruah when Gabriel came to Miriam in the 6th calendar month? Luke 1:26, confirming that she became pregnant in that time because Gabriel went on to tell her that her cousin Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant in her old age. 9 months later, on the 364-day calendar, put Jesus' birth closer to Pentecost, Shavuot, unless he was born prematurely. A donkey ride over several days could do that at Passover. All right, so yeah, cute little comment, Suzette. I like that. So what I liked about this comment was she had a real question here. In fact, that she was questioning the timeline I gave. She gave a reference to where she was getting her information from. In this case, the biblical reference. And what she was trying to do here is tell us that she thought that my timeline was completely wrong in the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar one. And obviously, Suzette, I'm not sure what your background is, but you have obviously some background in knowing at least what the Hebrew months were and what some of the festivals were. So good for you, however you came to that. So thank you so much for this one. So I'm going to reply to this comment here. But you send me a comment like this, whether you love me or hate me, I don't care, right? No one's going to be 100% correct all the time, and I definitely am not. But if I'm wrong, and I had one person who commented on one of my earlier videos, he said, that's wrong, Marc, your timeline's wrong. And I looked right and said, oh, and I corrected. He said, you're right. I said, Jesus was born on this day when I really meant John the Baptist was born on this day. And it was a simple slip-o and typo on my part, but it happens, right? And I appreciate people catching me on stuff like that. So in this case, Suzette, thank you for your question. Now let me explain to you how I see it and why I don't think your comments are necessarily 100% correct, but I love the comments and thank you so much for watching the videos. Okay, so here we go. You gave Luke 1:26 as your reference. So let me read a couple of different versions of this verse. So first from the ESV. In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth. And it goes on to talk about the virgin betrothed to Joseph and such. Okay, so 6th month. This is where Suzette's making her first slightly large mistake, right? Nowhere in here does it tell you which month the 6th month is. Now, she's assuming it's the 6th month of the year, and she's assuming a Hebrew calendar, a standard Hebrew calendar. The problem is in the Second Temple period, right? The Pharisees had a calendar, the Sadducees had a calendar, the Essenes had a calendar, and as that video is talking about, the Qumran community had a calendar. And there were other ones besides that. And then there's obviously a Roman calendar, and there would have been an older Greek calendar as well. So unless the authors tells us which month they're talking about, we don't know which calendar they're dealing with. And so assuming that 6th month meant the 6th month of the year may be a little too much of an assumption. Now, the other thing is, of course, for most people, if you look at your English Bible, almost every English Bible has something about the birth of Jesus being foretold, or Gabriel announces Jesus' birth, right above verse 26 here, because we broke the Bible up into chapters and verses, and we put little markers in there to tell us what we're looking for. None of those things existed in the Second Temple period, right? All of those were several hundred years after Christ came, that we added chapters and verses. The New Testament Greek texts got it a little bit earlier, but maybe 200 years after the books were written and the codices were put together. The Hebrew calendar came about, the verses and the chapter numbers came about 400 years afterwards, give or take. It's just like none of the stuff was early, right? This stuff was much later. So when you're looking at your English translation, don't assume that 26 is separate from the verses above it. So if we look at verse 24, after these days his wife Elizabeth conceived, and for 5 months she kept herself hidden. Oh, interesting. Now this is talking about Zachariah and Elizabeth, and and Zachariah had, of course, this whole thing of working with the angel, right? Angel Gabriel there, and how Gabriel told him that he was going to have a son. And when Zachariah kind of gave him a smart reply, Gabriel made him mute for a while, right? So, and that was part of the timeline of, if we know when John the Baptist was born, we know when Jesus was born, right? Now, real quick, there was a priestly timeline video that you can go back and view, but the quick answer is Zechariah was a very important priest, right? He was in the division of Abijah. Now, what happened was during David's reign, right, all the Levites were broken down by family groups, right, and each served 1 week at a time on festival days. On the festivals, they all served because everyone was coming in, and so they needed it, but they broke it down. So that way, no priest had to, serve more than, a week at a time generally, right? And so because of this, and we have to assume, and I know assuming can be difficult, can be a tough thing, but we have to assume that in the Second Temple period, because I still had all the books from David, that they kept the divisions and the timing of when they served. So we know when we're looking here at Zechariah, this would have been just within a couple of weeks of Passover. Because Passover, of course, all the priests would have served in Abijah. Was one of the first divisions to serve afterwards. So if, according to the Bible here, right, the biblical verse we have here, if John is conceived right after Zachariah leaves from the priestly service, so it's close to right after Passover, right? And so that gives us a time frame for when John was conceived, and assuming he was born basically 9 months later, and then 6 months after John was conceived, Mary visits Elizabeth, and that gives us a time frame for when Jesus was born. That fits into the time frame I gave, right? So that was the first mistake, is that she assumed 6 month meant 6 months of the year, when really it meant 6 months of the episode here that Elizabeth was conceived. Now, how do we know that? Well, once again, if you look at other English Bibles, the Christian Standard Bible also says in the 6 month, because they're trying to keep most of these, the English Standard Version, the Standard Christian Standard Bible, the NRSV. These are all essentially word-for-word type translations. They try to come up with one English word to match with one of the Greek words as much as possible, so that you can check that each word matches up with the Greek word. And you can look up the Greek word if you're into Greek word studies. I don't particularly like people who do word studies, Greek or Hebrew, unless they know how to actually work in the language, because there's a whole lot of mistakes you can make if you're just looking up like in a lectionary or a thesaurus or anything. So I would really like you to concentrate on learning the languages a little bit more so you can work in them before you get too deep into word studies. But that's why there are so many different versions in English that are really solid, right? But one of the versions I like is the Net Bible. Now, the Net Bible was a good because it had some really good scholars involved with it. But the other thing is that it was basically your open forum Bible. They produced the edition notes that the translators told you exactly why they made certain changes. Okay? Now, in the Net Bible, Luke 1:26 says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy. Now, I'll tell you right now, Elizabeth's pregnancy is not in the Greek on Luke 1:26. But if we look at the edition notes for the Net Bible, what it tells you here is that the Greek, in the 6th month, the phrase of Elizabeth's pregnancy was supplied in the translation to clarify the exact time by the reference that Elizabeth's pregnancy is meant to be clear from verses 24 to 26, because that's actually of the pericope. And pericope's a word used with when dealing with Greek and Hebrew texts. That's the section that represents itself. So think of it like maybe the paragraph in an English book, right? And usually a paragraph has a main subject of that paragraph. And so where we're breaking the New Testament here for most English translations, where we're making this break between 24 and 25 and then 26 to tell us that the birth of Jesus is foretold, that's not a natural break in the Greek. And if you're looking at, what the pericope should be, 26 should definitely be included in the pericope above. So when they're saying in the 6th month, what they're talking about is they're continuing with the narratives that they're having, that Elizabeth conceived and she was 5 months, kept herself hidden, right? And then on the 6th month is when Gabriel went to Mary. So that's a big context issue. That's a big issue of learning how to read your English Bibles, and why I do strongly suggest having at least 3 versions of the Bible. Now, the Net Bible follows what they call, if you look at the translator notes, a mediating translation philosophy, which seeks a balance between word for word and thought for thought translations. Those are the 2 main ones. So like the ESV is a word for word, right? And the New Living Translation is a thought for thought translation, right? Or the NIV, right? A lot of people don't like the NIV because it doesn't do the word for word. It's a thought for thought translation as well, or a dynamic equivalent is the wording they use on the NIV. People get really freaked out, but that doesn't follow the exact word order of the Hebrew or the Greek. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, the King James is the best one because every word represents. But there are compromises you make on this, okay, in either translation mode. So I like having, of the 3 Bibles I typically will have up at any one time, I always try to keep the ESV, because for me it's the one that's technically the easiest one for me to work in, because I have all of my interlinear Bibles are attached to the ESV. All of my translation notes are attached to my ESV Bible, right? And so that's why that's always up there. I use the Christian Standard Bible simply because the church I go to right now, that's what they use congregationally. And so it's just easier when I'm talking to people there to quote from that Bible, because that's the one that they're going to open up to read. So that helps. And then I always use the Net Bible because I like it, because it adds that mediation between thought for thought and word for word. And I've got all these great Bible notes, and there are notes for the English ESV as well, which are good. But the Net Bible has the best translator notes of any English Bible I've seen recently. Okay, so because of this stance on being as transparent as possible, right? Where a lot of the other English translations try to hide to some degree this. You get over 60,000 translator notes with the Net Bible, and that just helps you understand what the translators were thinking when they made a decision. Okay, so three Bible versions is my suggestion for English. One of them, I would strongly suggest the Net Bible if you have access to it. For me, I like the ESV. You may like the NRSV or something else, or the American Standard. It doesn't really matter. Try to have three. Make sure that they try to have some slightly different translation variants, so that way you can see how they approached a topic, and that will help you, right? And just think about that. Now, if you've gone through this, thank you. And if you want to, like and share and subscribe to the channel, it helps us a great deal. Also, look at the description where I will put links to my Bible study platform. It's a $10 a month platform. I'm sorry, there is a cost to it, and but it helps us offset the cost of maintaining and answering all your questions. The idea is we're building a community there that you get to see all the videos. I put up all the videos. You'll have all of the notes from all of the videos will be up there as well. I have more videos up there than are on YouTube because they're built into courses, so they can help that. But the whole idea of the Bible study platform is to provide an introduction and an education in theology. Theology is the knowledge of God, so that you can become better at your own personal Bible, in-depth Bible studies. And we hope that this helps. The other link is to Logos Bible Study. If you're not using a Bible study program that's in-depth one, Logos is the one I use. I've been using it for over 25 years. It's probably the best on the market for its completeness. It's on this new subscription formula, which makes it really easy to get into it if you want to. And this provides a discount for you. So discounts are always good. So look for that. And thank you very much. And let me know what you think.